Donald Trump has never been one to shy away from controversy, but his recent social media post regarding the BRICS nations takes his tendency to stir up trouble to a whole new level. The former president, in an attempt to assert American dominance over global trade, threatened to impose 100% tariffs on the BRICS countries unless they abandon efforts to replace the US dollar with another currency in global trade. This threat, which would be absurd under any circumstances, shows just how little Trump understands the intricacies of international economics and diplomacy. Trump's proposal highlights a significant misunderstanding of how tariffs function and the broader implications of trade relations between the United States and the countries in the BRICS bloc: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. In fact, his plan not only risks damaging the American economy, but could also push these countries closer to each other and further away from U.S. influence. The irony is palpable. Trump's bluster might benefit countries he claims to oppose, like Russia and China, while harming U.S. industries and American consumers in the process. In this video, we will examine why Trump's tariff threat is a misguided move that exposes his profound lack of understanding of international trade, geopolitics, and the economic realities of the 21st century. We will break down the purpose and role of the BRICS bloc, analyze the flawed thinking behind Trump's tariff proposal, and assess the potential fallout for the U.S. economy. By the end of this article, it will be clear that Trump's attempt to assert control over the global financial system not only risks harming U.S. interests, but also strengthens his geopolitical rivals. 1. What is BRICS? Understanding the economic bloc Trump threatened. The BRICS bloc is a group of 5 major emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The acronym was first coined by economist Jim O'Neill in 2001 to describe these rapidly developing countries that were expected to play a prominent role in the global economy. Over the years, BRICS has evolved from an economic partnership focused on investment opportunities to a significant geopolitical coalition. Key characteristics of BRICS. Economic power. Together, the BRICS nations account for approximately 25% of global GDP and 40% of the world's population. The combined economic clout of these countries makes them a powerful force in global markets, increasingly seeking to challenge Western-dominated institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. Geopolitical ambitions. The BRICS countries are united by a desire to reshape the global order, reducing the dominance of Western powers, particularly the United States, in areas such as finance, international law, and trade. Their goal is to create a more multipolar world where countries like China, Russia, and India have more influence on global decisions. The BRICS Bank, NDB, one of the key achievements of the BRICS countries has been the establishment of the New Development Bank, NDB, in 2014, aimed at funding infrastructure and sustainable development projects in emerging markets. This is seen as a direct challenge to the World Bank and IMF, which have been criticized for their policies favoring developed countries. Trump's threats against BRICS make little sense in this context. The bloc has increasingly positioned itself as a counterweight to U.S. influence, and its collective efforts to create alternatives to U.S.-dominated financial systems are central to its mission. In making threats against BRICS, Trump would be attacking a group of nations that are not only large trading partners, but are also strategically important to global economic and geopolitical stability. 2. Trump's 100% tariff threat, a policy of ignorance. In his now infamous social media post, Trump threatened to impose 100% tariffs on all BRICS nations unless they abandon any plans to replace the US dollar with an alternative currency. On the surface, the statement appears to be a bold declaration of strength, but upon closer inspection, it is clear that this move is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how international trade and tariffs work. What Trump's tariff threat entails. The demand. Trump called for BRICS countries to commit to not creating a new currency or using any other currency to replace the US dollar in international trade. The consequence. If BRICS refuses, Trump stated that these countries would face 100% tariffs on their exports to the United States. In other words, goods imported from BRICS nations would be taxed at twice their current value. Why the proposal is a disaster. Lack of authority over currency decisions. The U.S. cannot dictate the monetary policies of sovereign nations. If BRICS countries, particularly Russia and China, decide to pursue alternatives to the U.S. dollar for trade, there is very little the U.S. can do to prevent them. Trump's demand for compliance is unrealistic and shows a fundamental misunderstanding of international economics. Economic self-sabotage. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods, and they would be paid by American consumers and businesses, not the countries Trump is targeting. This would raise prices for everyday goods in the U.S., hurting American families and companies who rely on affordable imports for production and consumption. It's a form of economic self-sabotage. Retaliatory measures. BRICS countries, particularly China and India, could retaliate by imposing their own tariffs on U.S. goods. This could lead to a trade war, damaging industries such as agriculture, technology, and manufacturing in the U.S., and hurting American workers. Trump's threats could backfire in ways that would hurt U.S. businesses far more than they hurt the BRICS countries. 3. Russia's role in BRICS, a critical factor in Trump's contradictory stance. One of the most glaring contradictions in Trump's position is his relationship with Russia. Despite the U.S. having imposed severe sanctions on Russia for its actions in Ukraine and other international provocations, Trump has often praised Russian President Vladimir Putin, seeking to reduce sanctions and strengthen ties with Moscow. Russia's influence in BRICS. Russia is a key player in the BRICS bloc and has used its position to promote an agenda of countering U.S. global dominance. Under Putin's leadership, Russia has positioned itself as a champion of multipolarity in international relations, opposing Western-imposed sanctions and promoting a global order that is less reliant on the U.S. and its allies. The recent BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia, underscored the bloc's ambition to weaken U.S. influence and establish alternative financial systems. Putin has worked tirelessly to bring together developing countries that feel marginalized by Western powers, and this vision for BRICS is integral to his foreign policy. The irony of Trump's position. Trump's call for a 100% tariff on BRICS countries effectively undermines the very alliance he has sought to appease throughout his presidency. By targeting the economic interests of countries like India and Brazil, Trump risks pushing them closer to Russia's orbit, strengthening the very forces he claims to oppose. Trump's failure to grasp the geopolitical realities surrounding Russia's role in BRICS only highlights his ignorance of global trade dynamics and the intricate web of international relations. His approach risks isolating the U.S. from important global players while unintentionally empowering adversaries like Russia and China. 4. The fallout. Consequences for the U.S. economy and trade relations. The economic consequences of Trump's tariff threats would be far-reaching, affecting not only U.S. consumers, but also American businesses that rely on international trade. The BRICS countries are significant players in global trade, and their combined economic influence means that a tariff war could hurt the U.S. more than it helps. Impact on U.S. businesses and consumers. India. As one of the largest and fastest-growing economies in the world, India is a crucial trade partner for the U.S., especially in sectors like technology, pharmaceuticals, and textiles. A tariff on Indian goods could disrupt supply chains and lead to higher prices for American consumers. Brazil. Brazil is a major supplier of agricultural products, including soybeans, coffee, and beef, to the United States. A tariff on Brazilian exports would lead to higher prices for U.S. consumers and potentially strain relations with an important trading partner in Latin America, China. While the U.S. and China are already embroiled in a trade dispute, further escalating tensions through tariffs could damage U.S. industries reliant on Chinese manufacturing. Products such as electronics, clothing, and other consumer goods could become more expensive, hurting American families. Retaliation from BRICS. Trade war risks. If BRICS countries decide to retaliate, They could impose tariffs on U.S. exports, particularly in sectors like agriculture, technology, and manufacturing. This could lead to a full-fledged trade war, where both sides suffer from increased costs and reduced access to global markets. Donald Trump's proposal to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS countries is a classic example of his foreign policy ignorance and economic ineptitude. The threat to tax critical trading partners not only shows his lack of understanding of international trade and finance, but also exposes his inability to engage with the complexities of global geopolitics.